Good evening and welcome to tonight's show. I am your host, Tina Dawson, and I thank you so much for joining us. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and tonight's guest is here to share some very valuable information with you. Sorry about that. The major breast cancer charities organize international health campaigns to increase awareness of the disease and to raise funds for research into its cause, prevention, diagnosis, treatment, and cure. The National Coalition of Cancer Survivorship, NCCS, first coined the term cancer survivor in 1986. From the moment of diagnosis and for the balance of life, an individual diagnosed with cancer is a survivor. Quote, end quote. Family members, friends, and caregivers who are affected by a person's diagnosis are also considered cancer survivors. Cancer survivorship is the experience of living with, through, and beyond the diagnosis of cancer. The Howard family have been touched by this disease, and as survivors, they choose to use the experience of their loved one's journey as a way to help others. Help me give a warm welcome to tonight's guest, Mr. Keenan Howard. Keenan,
Hello, how are you, Tina?
I am doing great. How are you?
Fine, I am great. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it.
I thank you for inviting me. I really do.
How's the family?
Family is great. Everybody is fine.
That
Everybody,
is good. Well,
yes, yes.
your Falcons won this weekend.
They sure did. They sure did. They sure did. I still believe. I still believe. Yes, yes, yes. I
and the
do.
Braves are going to the World Series.
Yes, 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 yes. Tomahawk chop.
It was a wonderful weekend, wasn't it, for
One
sports fans?
weekend for me, yes, as a sports fan, yes. Love Atlanta teams. Love them. Yes, I do.
Well, we're going to start off tonight's interview, allowing you to tell the viewers a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Well, since we're talking about the Hawks and I said the Hawks. I'm sorry, not the Hawks.
We're still
About
praying for
the
them.
Braves. But I love the Hawks. It doesn't matter. Any Atlanta team, I'm behind. But with that being said, the Hawks, the Braves, and the Falcons, I'm a Grady baby. So if you're from
Okay.
Atlanta, you know what that means.
Yeah.
I was born at Grady Memorial Hospital. You know, us true Atlantans, we like to brag about the hospital that we were born in, unlike other people. But yes, I'm an Atlanta native. I grew up in mainland Southeast Atlanta. I
Mm-hmm.
went to I went to Sky Haven. No, I'm sorry. I went to Terry Mill Elementary School, Sky Haven Elementary School, and I graduated from Walker High School. They
Okay.
all okay. So that's a little about my education, pre-education.
Okay.
After graduating from Walker High School, I got accepted to several engineering schools, and I
Mm-hmm.
narrowed my choices down to Tennessee Tech and Southern Technical Institute. That's in Marietta, Georgia. It is now
Okay.
part of Kennesaw State. So they combined Kennesaw State and Southern Tech and made Kennesaw State. So I eventually, well, I got a little story I like to tell.
That's
I went
fine.
to I went to Tennessee State for one day, and I quickly discovered that I wasn't prepared to go to Tennessee State. I wasn't prepared to go to school out of college. I went and just wasn't ready. So the very next day, I got back in the car with my cousin, came back to Atlanta, and on our way back from that journey, I stopped in Marietta and stopped in at Southern Tech just to make sure they still had all my information. And I registered, and that's why I eventually ended up going to school, Southern Technical Institute in Marietta, Georgia.
Oh, wow. One day.
Yes. So yeah. So I attended there, and I went to like I said, I went to Southern Tech, and eventually graduated from there with a Bachelor of Science degree in Industrial Engineering. But
Okay.
uh, uh, upon, like I said, well, upon arriving at Southern Tech, or like most people are in college, I was starving and broke, and so I eventually got a part-time job, and I got a part-time job at United Parcel Service, and so that helped me, you know, with with paying for my education, as well as curbing my appetite and putting a little.
These
And
these college students today don't understand, do
no, they
they?
don't understand that at all. At all. Yeah, yeah. And so I was able to put a little money in my pocket while I went to school, and eventually I graduated from Southern Tech, like I said again, with a Bachelor of Science degree in Industrial Engineering. And upon my graduation, it took me a minute, but I was determined that I was going to finish college. And so uh, I went on the interview process, and it didn't go too well, and I was kind of, down on myself. My older brother always said, you gave up too soon with the interview process. So, but at the same time, one of my supervisors at UPS, he was like, "Hey man, I really need you to do me a favor." He said, "I would really like you to start driving for me. I know you just graduated from college, but you can make some money while you're looking for a job in your field." And I said, "Well, yeah, I'll do this favor for you." I said, "But I don't plan on doing this for long." He said, "That's fine, man. I just need your help right away." And
Wow.
so that's a little bit about that story. So lo and behold, 27 years later, I'm still doing him
Wow.
that favor. And so of course, that's how I met you, Tina, because
Right.
I'm your UPS driver.
Yes, you are my neighborhood UPS driver, and you deliver a lot of packages.
Yes, I do. Yes. So that's how I got to know Tina. Yes, I
Well,
do.
I really appreciate you taking care of my packages.
All right.
When FedEx comes, they just, toss my stuff and act like, they don't know I can see them from the window. So you really take care of my packages, and I appreciate you for that.
But thank you for the praise. I try. I try.
Well, a couple of years ago, you were delivering packages, and you shared with me a story about your family was doing a walk in honor of your mother.
Yes.
And I couldn't make it in 2019. 2020, we had the pandemic. So
Right.
you reminded me again this year that your family was doing the walk, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna support him.
Yes.
And I was impressed. I was amazed. I could feel the love in the air. I met people that knew you, I think, from elementary school.
Yes.
They were
Yes.
sharing their stories with me. So let's talk a little bit about the walk. I really wanted to, well, I invited you on the show because I wanted everybody to hear the story, the Howard family story about the walk and how your mother is no longer physically with you, but you still honor her every year.
Every
And
year.
when we did the walk 2 weeks ago, you were celebrating the silver anniversary of the walk. So you were celebrating 10 years
Yes, ma'am.
of doing Lucinda's walk. So we're going to back up, and I want you to tell us about Miss Lucinda.
Um, Lucinda H. Griggs, my mother. To start, she was a very feisty woman. And I would say when you first met her, you
Mm-hmm.
probably wouldn't like her because she was going to be straight to the point, tell you just like it is, straight, no chaser. That's how she was. But
Mm-hmm.
once you got to know her, you loved her. I mean, everyone loved her. Her personality, it was just amazing. She was one of a kind. Trust me, she was one of a kind. I wish I had some people back here to tell you about her,
Mm-hmm.
that some stories that they could share that I can't make it seem as good as they would. But she was a great person. She was. She taught me a lot.
Mm-hmm.
She made me the man that I am today. Um, she was just an inspiration in my life and my two brothers' life. She did a great job of raising us, and I want to thank her to this day for
Mm-hmm.
giving me and showing me how to become a man, and that's very hard for a woman to do. But she did her job and she did it well.
So how
Yeah.
many siblings do you have?
I have two brothers. I have an older brother, Maurice, and
Mm-hmm.
my younger brother, Farentino, or we call him Tino. He
Mm-hmm.
passed. He passed 5 years ago, 6 years ago, in 2015. Yeah,
Okay.
so that was my younger brother. Yes. Hmm.
Well, I'm sorry to hear about that.
Yeah, yeah, but yeah. So I mean, you don't want to be selfish. I mean, he was a joy as well. To
Mm-hmm.
be around. He was the life of the party. So we miss him as well. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so the brother that I met at the walk was the older brother.
Yes, that's my older brother. Yes,
Okay.
sir. Yes.
Okay. And
Yes.
I think it was your older brother and his wife and children.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. A couple of his daughters, both
Mhm.
his sons live out of town, so
Oh,
they
okay.
couldn't make it. Yes. Yes. But yeah,
Okay.
those were his two daughters as well.
Okay. So
Hmm.
let's talk about Lucinda's journey
Okay.
with breast cancer. Let's talk about that day that she ended up getting the diagnosis and how it affected the family.
Um, it was very hard. Um, you know, someone you love, your mother. Everyone loves their mother.
Hmm.
And she's the matriarch of the family, and it was devastating because
Hmm.
you know the first thing you think is, or I thought that it was a death sentence right away, you know,
Hmm.
and which I came to learn that's not the case, and
Hmm.
pretty much it wasn't the case for her. So you know when it was, like I said, beginning, it was very hard. But as time went on, because she was so strong
Hmm.
and she was able to endure it without letting us know she was hurting, or
Okay.
as bad as she was. So, but she was, like I said, she was just that type of person, and she instilled the strength in us to make sure that we were okay with what she was going through, and that
Right.
that that, that gave us, me and my brother, both the strength to deal with what was going on, the reality of the
Yeah.
situation. Yes.
Yeah. My mom passed away in 2017, and maybe 5 years prior to that, she had got diagnosed with breast cancer, and she beat that particular type of cancer, but it
Right.
ended up coming back as something else. And I totally understand when you get that diagnosis, it's like a shock,
Right.
right?
Right.
Because you just don't, you really don't think of your mother who, or your parent who has been basically the rock for you,
Exactly.
getting something like that, right?
Right.
That diagnosis. And it
Right.
kind of takes your breath away,
It does.
but
It
in every, I try to teach my daughter that in every tragedy or chaotic situation, there's always an opportunity to learn, an opportunity to be better,
Right.
opportunity to grow closer,
Yes.
right? So during your journey with your mom, what was some things that you took away from that experience?
Um, again, like I said, the most important thing was her being strong and showing us to understand that okay, it's God's will.
Mm-hmm.
And but again, even though it was God's will, she wasn't gonna let it take her right away.
Right.
And she survived, from the first diagnosis. She was 56. She actually passed when she was 72. And so that was an additional
Wow.
16 years. Yes. So
Wow.
as time went on, I kind of, you know, thought she was invincible because, like I said again at the beginning, I thought it was a death sentence. But, again, I'm probably going to say this more than once or a lot of times. Her
That's
strength
fine.
her strength, and so most people, lose their hair when they go through the chemo and all that. Now, my brother reminded me that her hair did get kind of thin, but she never lost her hair. And so,
Okay.
I just remember, or, most of the time, that's what occurs
Right.
when women. And so, like I said, through time, through that kind of thing, I just kind of became and said, kind of thought she was invincible. She beat this. You know what I mean? And so the initial shock kind of went away over time, and,
Mm-hmm.
and then when it came back the second time, I wasn't, it didn't hit me as hard. You know what I mean? Because I was like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, my mama beat it the first time. She's gonna beat it again. So
Right.
I wasn't as concerned as I was the first time when it came back the second time. So I
Mm-hmm.
was able to deal with it, and I was a little naive with what was going on, and I'm kind of glad I was because I
Yeah.
would have been, probably not prepared for what was coming.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
And it really, she really showed how when adversity comes, how strong you really are.
Right,
Right.
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 Yes,
Because,
yes,
when my mom went through it, they told us that her mindset will get her through because it's um 10% of what you're going through, but 90% of how you handle it.
exactly.
Right. And
Exactly.
and I'm sure that, like you said, when her attitude of this is not going to beat me
Right.
kind of helped you
Yes.
to
It
help,
did.
to go through the journey with her.
Right. Tremendously, tremendously. Like I said, my brother again reminded me of that as well, how it just helped him be stronger throughout the journey, to see
Hmm.
her, you know, saying it's gonna be okay. Yep, it really did. And it really that was a part of her instilling us to be strong and be independent and be mature about a lot of situations. Yeah,
Right.
that's
Right. Right.
that's that's how she was. I could tell you some stories about how she raised us that to this day people would say it was child abuse, and not in the physical sense. Not in the physical sense, but in the fact that like our children just don't believe that she did that. A story. I just got to tell this story.
That's fine.
My older brother, he's very intelligent, and he's at 4 years old. They wanted him to enroll in first grade.
Hmm.
So back then, we're talking, I'm gonna have to tell his age, but we're talking about in 1960, in Atlanta. So so they enrolled him into this private school at 4 years old. So
Uh-huh.
of course, my mother didn't have a car. So my mother taught my brother at 4 years old how to ride the bus, and not only ride the bus, but transfer and
Are you
to another bus.
serious?
I'm dead serious to get to school because they said he was so gifted. So she had to do what she had to do. But our
Wow.
children like, did your mother, my grandmother really did that? Yes, but and but what it did was it taught us how to be responsible at a young age.
Mhm.
So my story, I just had to walk up the street and catch the martyr, but he had to go, so mine wasn't as bad as his, but yes.
You
But
had to walk. You had to walk up that steep hill.
exactly.
Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
yeah. And nowadays, or when they went to school, you drove them up the steep hill, you know.
Right. 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 Yeah,
Yeah,
it was nice going to the park, but
right,
coming back, I was like, none of you. Everybody is small framed, and I see
right,
why.
right,
Because that hill would get you. I was out of breath.
right. Exactly. Yes. But yeah. So but yeah, but like I said, in the long run, it really helped us out tremendously. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that,
You
that's,
wouldn't change it for the world.
no, at all, not at all.
Mm-mm, mm-mm. Can you hear me? I think you froze. Can you hear me? You froze on your end. You're feeding. You're going in and out. Okay, now I can see you. Where you
You can
still
see me.
froze.
I'm still froze.
Uh-huh.
What is going on, man? We on?
You're still on your tablet.
Yes.
Okay. Are you near your modem?
No.
Okay. Because
Let
like
me
I
see.
said, it pulls a lot of bandwidth.
Okay, you think I should try and move closer to the modem?
Yeah, because I'm plugged in.
Okay, let me try that. Or what you want me to follow you or? Is she saying you still frozen? All right, am I still frozen, Tina?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes, she said I am.
Hold on, everybody. We're talking to Keenan Howard today. His family is the founder of Lucinda's Walk, and October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and we're having a conversation with him about his family honoring their mother through creating a walk in honor of breast cancer survivors. Can you see me?
Okay. Yes, I
Okay,
can see you, Tina.
you unfroze now.
Okay.
All right.
Right.
Yeah, it does that.
Okay. Yeah, but yeah, I say that was just one of the stories behind like I said, what my mother did. I could
Mhm.
share one more about with me, but we'll let that one go.
Okay.
Yeah.
So your mom had two bouts with breast cancer.
Yes, she did.
She had two. Okay, and then so she passed away. So let's talk about how the walk was created.
Okay. Um, the walk was pretty much created just like I said, out of the love for our mother and the respect and the things that she taught us. So, like I said again, you know, everyone loved her after they got to know her. And I can't take credit for actually creating the walk. I have to give that credit to my lovely wife, Mary. Um,
Okay.
she came up with the idea to honor my mother, by doing a breast cancer walk in her honor,
Mm-hmm.
in her name. So that's how it was created. And she said she wanted to help leave a legacy for her grandchildren to
Mhm.
see her and honor her as well. So that was a part of her thought process in creating the walk. So
Okay. And so when she came up with the idea, how did you all get the first walk together? Let's talk about what the steps that you took to create that first walk.
um the first thing we did, we contacted family members,
Mm-hmm.
and we let them know what we was trying to do, what the idea was, and you know we just want to do this in her honor. So we contacted cousins, like I said, the children, nieces, nephews, let them know what we were trying to do, and just through word of mouth and the phone, that's how it started.
Mm-hmm.
The very first walk, we didn't have that. We had a total of 42 people to participate, and mainly,
That's pretty good.
yes, and mainly it was family. It
Okay.
was family, and so that's how it started. And like I said, the first walk, again, my wife was very instrumental in it, and through her thoughts, we of course, you've seen the T-shirts that we all give out, and we walk
Mm-hmm.
in unity. The first T-shirt that was created, by my wife, because my mother was considered a diva as well. Even though she had the sassiness and the feistiness, she was a diva. And so
Mm-hmm.
this first T-shirt, if you look at the design of the T-shirt, you'll see it has some pumps on it and it has some lipsticks. And so most people would say, well, what did that have to do with breast cancer? But my wife just wanted to let everybody know that's the kind of person she was. So that was a part of the T-shirt design in the beginning,
Okay.
to highlight the pumps and the lipstick. But yeah, that was the inspiration behind it. Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. And every year, has it grown every year? Because I know this year you said you had set a specific goal. So I know that every year you've had goals set of, getting the information out, getting
Right.
people to participate. So let's talk about this year's goal.
Okay. Yes, it has grown over the last 10 years, and this year goal, it was my goal was to have 100 people come out and walk with us.
Mm-hmm.
That was my intention. We didn't get that quite that many. We got 50 people to come out and walk with us, but we
Okay.
had we had a lot more people, donated, participated in other ways. But yes, it was still, a success. Yeah,
Okay. Yes.
yeah, yeah.
Well, to me, if one person showed up,
Exactly, exactly.
it was a success. You know what I
Yes,
mean? So,
yes,
you
yes,
know, um,
yeah. So,
I'm always a firm believer too that God has there who's supposed to be there.
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly,
yeah.
exactly.
So I'm a firm believer of that. Now, when we created the circle
Mm-hmm.
and had everybody stand in the circle, and
Right.
then you made a speech, your brother made a speech,
Right.
and then I think it was a cousin, but after that, you made a statement, and I want to talk about that now. You made a statement that the proceeds from the monies that is collected, that you all actually donate to people
Exactly.
going through different forms of cancer, because it's not just breast cancer.
Right.
So there was a couple of people that were there. It was a husband and a wife, and then you had your friend Keisha, that she had spoke, and she said she was also a former recipient of the
Yes.
donation. So let's talk about the donations and what you do with the actual money, and how you choose the people that you're going to donate to. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Okay, okay. Again, like I said, I'm just a soldier for this thing.
That's all
I
right.
got, and you know how we are. We have our play cousins, play sisters. Actually, I got a play sister. Her name is Carla, and
Okay.
she came up with the idea because we were, giving it to various cancer institutes, societies, or whatever in the beginning. And
Mm-hmm.
she came up with the idea, said, look, we all know someone that has suffered from this disease. And why don't we donate to people that we know that is going through this tragedy? And so she came up with the idea that, we help some people out that we know in our neighborhood, you know,
Okay.
that is going through this and that we can help them out, with the donation. So that's how that started. Um, like with the t-shirts that we all wear. If you notice, on the bottom of the t-shirt, I think around the third or fourth walk, we added a little phrase at the bottom,
Mm-hmm.
fighting breast cancer in our neighborhood. So that's why
Okay.
that little line at the bottom of the t-shirt was added, because we wanted to help people out that we knew in our neighborhood that was going through, this tragedy and suffering this, through this disease, this deadly disease. And so what we did, or what we do, anybody can nominate somebody they know that might be in need. The first year, it was one of my classmates from Walker High School. She was a year younger than me. She was the first recipient. My daughter nominated her best friend mother one year, and like I said, my place was Carla
Mm-hmm.
nominated somebody. So everybody that's been in the circle has nominated somebody, and so that is where the recipients come from. Yes,
Wow. And
and
that is
when
so
you listen,
awesome that you're giving back to touch the lives of those that are in your community.
right, right, exactly, exactly, and so that's how it came about, and and to go back to what you mentioned about this past year's recipient, Joe
Mm-hmm.
and Tamita, and
Mm-hmm.
his wife was going through, you know, the she was sick at the time, and she was, shared it with everybody, and um, Tanya, which is another one of my play sisters, she got the
Okay.
information, so she nominated Tanetta, and so Joe, he's another one of my classmates at Walker High School, and
Mm-hmm.
which is Tanetta's husband. So when they nominated her, my wife and I went to visit them, you know,
Oh
and
wow.
we went to visit them, talked to him, and Joe was like, what's going on? I said, well, Joe, we got a little something for you and your wife. Try to help y'all out through these times, these hard times. It's not a lot, but it's what we can do for you all. And
Right.
so what happened is, you know, upon telling them why we were there and what we were doing, his wife was just, just smiling and just like in awe. So when my wife and I presented them with the check, she was just the smile on her face, and the elation. It was just so overwhelming. You know what I mean? And not just not that she's not the only person that I've seen that from, you know,
Right.
and it just touches me, and it motivates me to want to do this more on a bigger scale. So,
Mm-hmm.
but anyway, like I said, with that story that I shared with everybody, when I gave her that check last year, she was going through a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and when I gave her the check, I just asked her, I said, I just want you to promise me that you'll be at the walk next year. And
Oh wow.
she said, okay. And so, my wife kind of said, after we left, my wife said, that was putting a lot of pressure on. I said, well, I wasn't trying to put any pressure on her, but my thought process behind that is if she comes to the walk, she's okay.
Yeah.
She would be able to do it, and she would be
Yeah.
healthy, and she would be that overcame, this disease. So about 3-4 weeks prior to the walk, I got a call from my husband Joe. And
Mm-hmm.
he said, hey big bro, you know, what's going on? What I need to do? What I gotta do? And I told him, I said, well, here's the information. I texted him the information, and he said, we gonna be there. He said, but look, he said, my wife is on the speaker so she can hear you. And I said, how you doing? She said, fine. I'm doing great. You know, I said, glad to hear that you're okay and doing well. And she said, you know what? I'm gonna be at the walk. And
Oh wow.
with that, it just made me know that what we're doing is worthwhile, worthwhile.
Yeah.
And I shared that story with everybody, and I introduced, you know, Joe and his wife Janetta. So
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
that that was a part of the little circle thing. I usually have a little small speech every year,
Mm-hmm.
and then we pray. But of course, I invite anybody who want to share a story, and tell their story. And we've had people come up in the past, and like I think you mentioned, like another one of our recipients, Keisha. She
Mm-hmm.
came and she spoke that particular day as well.
Yeah, she
Um,
did.
she
Mm-hmm.
spoke, and for those of you who don't know, if you're a Falcon fan like I am, she's considered the official bird lady of the Atlanta Falcons. So we was able to help her out 1 year or so, and she shared her story, her testimony
Yeah.
at the walk as well. Yes, she did.
Yeah. I actually spoke to her today, and we're gonna make sure that we get her on the show so she can tell her story.
Yeah.
I think that it is awesome that you're that you still have a sense of community. In 2021, it seems like when you watch the news and you see the stuff that goes on in the neighborhoods, it seems like the sense of community is gone away.
Right.
And
Right.
when we grew up, we knew the neighbors knew us, they knew our parents. If we did something 3 blocks away, it made it to back to our parents before we got back home.
Right.
That sense of community and everybody caring about each other and everybody knowing each other and doing things together is just not there
Right.
anymore. I mean, I made it well, I know everybody on my street except one person. But
Right.
back in the day, that never would happen. I mean, you knew everybody. You knew people on your
Right.
street and the street, past you, around you. You knew everybody. You knew
Exactly.
everybody because it really does take a village to raise a kid. And I thought it was so touching. I had asked one of your classmates. I said, why are we, at this particular house? And he said, well, this is the house they grew up in. And
Yes.
I
Yeah.
was like, what? And he was
Yeah.
like, yeah. He said, this is the house that they grew up in. And I thought that was so um, heartfelt or touch my heart,
Right.
that you all still had the house that you all were raised in. It is still in the family,
Yes, it
a
is.
family asset, and that is the starting point. So let's talk about why you made, and I probably know the answer, but I want the viewers to hear from you, because you could have chose any route to do the walk. So what was your thought behind choosing the route, starting where we start and ending where we ended?
Well, again, like you said, that's where we grew up at. And that's the house that she left to her family. She worked
Mhm.
hard, and it's paid for, and she wanted, and that was in her will to keep the house
Mhm.
as a family house. And so we tried to honor her wishes. So
Mhm.
that was very important to me. I know, it would have been easy to have a walk where you go in a circle, and complete the walk. But I just thought it was important, since we were doing it in her honor, just to start at that point where it all began, and so that's why we chose that point. And again, when we started the walk, it was 10 years ago. So we still, most of the people, my cousins and relatives, we weren't no spring chickens. So I didn't want to have a walk where, we
Yeah.
walk 6, 7 miles, So the walk is only zero point 0.9 miles. We walk from the house to the park where I grew up playing basketball and having fun.
Okay.
So that was it, and that's where it's part of the neighborhood, like you said
Right.
earlier. You know, when we grew up, like I said, that's how we learned our way around because you
Hmm.
knew Tanya lived over here, Joe or Crom lived over here, so that's how you
Hmm.
knew how to get around in your neighborhood. And I think when DeKalb County went away from having kids going to school in their own neighborhood, we kind of
Right.
lost something,
Yeah.
with having that pride in our neighborhoods. Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's that's
Yeah.
that's that's why we started at the house there. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I wondered what the significance was to the park. So now I know. That was your hangout.
Yeah. I used to play a little ball around there. I joke with everybody. They should have named that park after me because I I, I I put away a lot of people down there.
All right now.
Yeah.
Look, now you're gonna have to add a 3-on-3 basketball tournament at the end of the walk.
Yes. Exactly.
So let me
Yeah.
ask you another question. So what is your goal for next year's walk?
For next year's walk, my goal again is to have more people, but at least 200 people or more to participate. In some form or fashion. Like I said, we usually have the T-shirts that we walk in unison. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And what we do is the proceeds from the sale of the T-shirts is how we raise the money to give the donations to the various
Okay.
council institute societies, as well as take donations. And
Okay.
so that's how we raise the money so we can help people again in our neighborhood try to beat this deadly disease. At
Right.
least give them some temporary relief. That we behind you.
Right.
And we trying to help you out, do our part to help out. So
Okay.
that's it.
And can
That's
can anybody participate?
anybody can participate. Anybody. We welcome any and everybody. Come and enjoy it. Like I said, when we get to the park, we kind of make it like a social event. You know what I mean? We
Hmm.
sit at the park on the bench. Everybody get to know each other, share a little story, say, "Hey, how you doing? I haven't seen you in a long time, whatever." And
Yeah.
so we just get to know one another. And so, yes, anyone and everyone, please come and share your thoughts, and so um, we can make this better if we can. If you
Hmm.
got some ideas or anything that you want to share, yep, please share that with us. Yep,
Okay. And
yep,
we see at the bottom of the screen we have your contact information. So
right.
is there a certain do you have a certain deadline for taking donations, or you'll take donations 365 days a year?
Yes, we will. We'll take donations 365 days a year. But what we try to do, um, try between Thanksgiving and Christmas, we
Hmm.
try to make when whoever nominates the person or the recipient for that year,
Okay.
we try to make the donation between that time because it's the holiday season, just to help them out, him or her out, and just to make it a little better if we can, especially.
Okay. Let me ask you
Mm-hmm.
this too. If people want to make different donations, not just monetary donations, if they want to donate items, is there a list of items that people have told you that they need? Do you have a list of items? Are you just taking monetary donations, or are you taking donations of other items?
Well, at this particular time, we are just doing monetary
Okay.
donations. Yeah, just monetary donations.
Okay.
But again, now if if you got an idea that'll work for us, that'll help us out, we're open to any and everything that make this wonderful, wonderful. And that's what I hope, my goal and plan is. Um, on a bigger scale, a bigger dream.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if this asking too much or bigger scale, but I would like to make, Lucinda H. Griggs name synonymous, some like with Susan G. Coleman. You know what I
Right.
mean? You know what I mean? I know that sound big, but I would like for that to happen. I don't know if I can do it, but I'm willing to try. That's what I'm
Yeah.
that's what I'm planning on doing. Yes.
Well, it can. It
Yeah.
can, because
With the hard work.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
because
Yes.
the Susan G. Coleman Foundation started somewhere,
Right.
right?
Right.
They
Right.
started somewhere, and
Yeah.
what we see today is not where they began,
Right.
right?
Exactly.
So I think you've as many times as you can talk about Lucinda's walk,
Right.
get that story out there.
Right.
Because you just, I'm a firm believer, you never know where your blessings coming from. And
Exactly.
you never know how many people you're touching by your story.
Right.
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 And it's, it's not hard, it's not easy raising boys.
Right. Right.
I have one.
And I have
It's
one too. And
yeah, it's not
it's difficult.
easy.
Yeah,
So your
it's
mother raised three.
three by herself.
She raised three, and then
Yeah.
she had two bouts of cancer.
Yes.
And I think that I was telling someone that when people, and you said this at the beginning of the broadcast, when people go through things, you even mentioned this, when you have said, God, let your will be done,
Right.
right?
Right.
And sometimes his will is not ours,
Right.
but his will is still done, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, yeah,
Exactly. Exactly.
yeah. And
Yeah.
so, I am, I was very moved and touched by the walk. Let me say that.
Thank
I
thank you.
had a good time talking to people that had went to school with you.
Right. 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 Right.
And really interviewing. Well, I wasn't trying to interview them, but I was just trying to find out about the walk. That was my first time being
Right.
there,
Right.
and just to hear how they're connected, because I knew Miss Lucinda. I was raised with him.
Yeah.
I went to school with him since elementary school, and I went to high school with him. And it was just good to see that community atmosphere,
Exactly.
because you really don't see that today.
No, you don't. No, you
You
don't.
really don't see that today at
Right.
all.
Right. And very grateful and thankful for the people that come out, to
Yeah.
support me. You know what I mean? And my kids, when I say, something about walking high, and they like, Daddy, hey, everybody went walking high that know you. Nah, I don't know if they know me, but they come out and support me, and we are a family. So they support me on this, and it's great. Like I said, it's just a sense of community that
Yeah,
you can count and rely on people that been around you for pretty much all your life.
yeah, yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yes,
And
yes.
before we end the show, I want to give you space for you to share your heart with the viewers. What is something that you really want the viewers to know and really hold on to with this interview?
Um, what I want the viewers to know, like if you talk to most people or in your surroundings, they know or have experienced someone that has went through this deadly disease or knows someone that has had cancer, you know. And so my thing is, I want to do my part to try to fight this deadly disease. Hopefully, they can come up with a cure in my lifetime. So people won't have to suffer, you know, with this, not only like you said, the actual victims, but the families, you
Yeah.
know. And so that's my goal, to try to do my part in this. I really, like I said in the beginning, I didn't know where this was going, but
Mhm.
like you said, you don't know where your blessings come from.
No, you
But
don't.
this has truly been a blessing to me. I let everybody know, if I ain't did nothing right in my life, this is one thing I've done right in my life. And to be able to help people has been, it really has been great. And so I'm gonna continue to walk from Lucinda's house to Glenmore Park till I can no longer walk. Yep,
Yeah.
to help to fight this deadly disease. So that's what I want people to know and get out of this interview. Yep.
Yeah. And I want to piggyback on that and say that it is so important for, first of all, breast cancer doesn't just affect women,
Right.
right? It affects men also. And
Exactly.
it is so important for us to get our routine checkups and to do self breast examinations.
Right.
Don't put off going to the doctor.
Right.
Make sure that you get your annual routine checkups. And if something does not feel right, do not put it off.
Right.
Go straight to the doctor. And I'm gonna share this with you right quick. When my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer, it was crazy because we were trying to get her prepped to have a gallbladder
Mm.
removed, her gallbladder removed.
Right.
And so they had to do one final scan, and that's when they found the breast cancer.
Right.
And when they told her, they called they immediately called a family meeting. And so all the siblings just happened to be in Atlanta at the time, and we all went to hear what he had to say to her and to be around her to comfort her.
Right.
And when he told her all of the information, her response was, "I don't understand. I breastfed 5 kids. And so how in the world can you tell me I have breast cancer if I breastfed 5 kids?" And we
Right.
bust out laughing.
Right.
The doctor just fell out.
Right.
And it was, he was laughing because that showed where her mind was, right?
Right.
And if she can
Right.
have humor
Right.
after getting that diagnosis, he was
Exactly.
like, that's when he told us it was 10% what's told to you, 90% of how you react to what's told to you.
Right.
And as long as you keep that PMA, that positive mental attitude, you're
Right.
going to be okay. And
Right.
thus, she beat it. There were
Right.
some things that we didn't know. It allowed us to educate ourselves more about the deadly disease.
Exactly.
And we didn't know that sometimes it can, come back in
Right.
a
Right.
different area.
Right.
And that's what ended up happening to her.
Right.
But it gave us a sense of closeness.
Yes.
It made us be educated about it,
Yeah.
right? And
Exactly.
it's not just that person's fight that's going through it. When your loved one or your family, your friend is diagnosed with this deadly disease or with this disease,
Right.
um, it affects everybody.
Right. It does. It does. It does. And,
Right.
and I'm sure that was your mother way of easing y'all too.
Yeah.
Letting y'all, say,
Yeah.
letting y'all know I'm okay. It's
Yeah.
gonna be all right. And it's very important because, like I said again, everybody, mama is special. To
Hmm.
everyone, everybody loves mama. So, and I'm
Yeah.
sure she wanted to make sure she left y'all in a. I mean, at that point, once y'all
Hmm.
know she was all right, don't worry about me.
Right.
Yes, yes, yes.
Right.
So, yeah, yeah.
I think I've heard somebody say this, and you've probably heard this too. Um, it's all about the dash, right? Your,
Exactly.
your
Oh,
life is
yes,
not about the
yes.
beginning day, and it's not about the end.
Right,
Your quality of life in that dash
Exactly.
is what's important,
Exactly.
right? And the little things that our loved ones can leave with us: strength,
Right.
courage,
Yes.
those nuggets and jewels that they leave with us, when they go, when they go home to
Right.
be with the Lord, is what we can hold on to.
Right. Right. Right.
Right. And even though she's not physically here, Keenan, you all have kept your mother's spirit alive
Yes.
in that
Yes.
walk. You
Right.
have kept your mother's spirit alive. And I hope this interview encourages other people that have lost loved ones to
Mhm.
show them that there's something you can do
Right.
to keep
Right.
that loved one's spirit alive.
Right. 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 And that was the goal, and that was my wife's, thinking behind that. To when she created this, helped create this,
Yeah.
to have a legacy for her grandchildren. Yep. To uphold
And
and
it's therapeutic too.
yes, yes, it is. It is. It is. Yeah. It puts a smile on your face, you know.
Yeah.
And in October, gotta get ready. We gotta, it's a little work, but the grandkids are getting on board now. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? They help me out, and I see they got some enthusiasm. So it's working for everyone involved. Yep.
Yeah, and you also mentioned that you had a cousin that came out for the very first time. You remember when you
Yes, yes, yes,
when you
yes.
got him?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. My cousin Keon, he came out for the first time. Yeah, so we get more people involved. It's nice to have new faces.
Yes.
Especially at that time of the morning, early on a Saturday morning. Most people we don't get up that early on Saturday morning. So yeah, it's great to have them come out. And like I said, my thought process behind that was, get out, walk early, so you can still have your Saturday and be productive. So, everything it's come to fruition, and it's been very positive. It's been very positive. We've got 10 down and 100 more to go.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Yes,
And
yes,
and also I was going to say too, because on your walk you mentioned that it was a little under a mile,
right,
and the walk, the I was going to say the trail, but the walk is such that it's not too strenuous
right,
um, on people. It's not that long.
right.
But I will say, you know where I'm about to go with this.
I know
You're
exactly.
gonna have to cut that hill going back to the house
Yes,
because
yes,
you trick us. You
yes,
you try to make sure we all stay in shape. Because going to that part, we had a
yes.
ball
Right,
when we were coming back. When we hit the base of that hill,
right, right, right.
we couldn't
Yeah.
even talk when we got back to Lucinda's house.
Yeah, that hill is something else. I don't think it's another hill like that in Atlanta.
Oh my
Not quite.
goodness!
Yes,
I said
it's
he tricked us. I was telling them. I
yes,
said he tricked us.
yes. Going down is very easy, but coming back up, why? Yes, yes. It takes its toll. But yeah, that's why when we get to the park, we rest. Get some water, some juice. Because we have to prepare, get ourselves body, ready to tackle that hill. Yeah,
Yeah, but see, that was my first time. You didn't
right,
warn me,
right.
but
Yeah,
now I know.
yeah. So you'll be prepared next time. Yes, yes, yes. And
Kenan, thank you so much
uh,
for allowing me to interview you. It has been a joy. You can count me in for next year. I will make
okay,
sure I put it on my calendar. But you know what? And I am gonna. What I do want to do is, I'll make sure that a week or two before the walk,
uh-huh.
you come back on the show.
Okay, okay, all right.
Okay, so
And
so we can tell everybody again about Lucinda's walk,
okay,
and thank you for inviting me. I feel so honored to be a part of your family's walk,
right,
and like you said, you're just leaving a legacy
Right.
in honor of your mom, giving donations to people, creating the walk, giving a sense of community,
Right.
love back into your community.
Exactly.
I just feel honored that you invited me, and I
Right.
really appreciate it. I'm gonna tell you this: if everybody brings one person,
Yep.
if everybody brings one person new,
Right. Right.
you'll make your goal.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. And I want to thank you for coming out and giving me this platform. I really appreciate it, and thank you. Hopefully this will do wonders for the walk to let us know what's going on and what we're trying to do. Like I said, we usually what we do is the third week in October is the walk. So
Okay.
that's how we come up with
Third
the date.
Saturday.
The third Saturday.
The
in
third
October.
Saturday.
Third
Okay.
Saturday each October. That's when we do the walk every year. Yep. So
Well, and I also
appreciate
want to say thank you to Miss Mary. I hear in the background, but I just want to say thank you to her. She was such a great hostess.
yes, she was. Yes, she was. Yes. Throw me a couple of cue cards here and there.
Hey, it's a partnership, right?
Exactly.
There you go.
Yes. And
Well, Keenan, you hold on
okay.
and don't go anywhere. But I
All
just
right.
want to thank everybody for viewing tonight's show. Again, this is the last week of the National Breast Cancer Awareness Month. But as you know, all of us have been affected some way, somehow, family member, co-worker, friend. We've been touched by breast cancer. So even though it's National Breast Cancer Awareness Month, breast cancer awareness is a 365-day ordeal. Right.
Exactly.
And we just want to encourage everybody there's so many different ways that you can honor your loved ones. Tonight is just an example of one way. Keenan has shared his information. If you need any more information about creating a walk, being a part of his family's legacy walk, feel free to contact him. And we're going to ask everybody to like and share this video. Share it. Get the word out. Help us get the word out about this family, continue the legacy of their mom and honoring her with their annual breast cancer walk. So thank you so much, Keenan.
You're welcome. Thank you, Tina. I really appreciate this. Thank
Oh,
you.
anytime. We're gonna do some more. I promise you that.
All right.
Okay, you stay there. We're gonna tell everybody good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.